Welcome back, friends. I'm Dr. Toye Oyelese, and this is Navigational Mind. If this is your first time listening, don't worry, you're not late to class, because honestly, there is no test at the end of any of this. Today we're looking at a question that I think kind of sneaks up on a lot of us, especially if, like me, you spent years thinking the goal in life was certainty, or at least looking like you had everything sorted out. Have you ever noticed how much of life is built around chasing perfect outcomes, or feeling like you have to pick one version of yourself and defend it at all costs? A navigational life, as I see it, is different. It's about charting your inner course by orientation, not by some rigid map that never changes. It's about being led by your own sense of direction, something living inside you, rather than relentless external measuring sticks. I want to give you a clear anchor here, something we talked about a few episodes back actually, when we explored the navigation loop. Sense, interpret, act, reflect, update, orient. Instead of waiting for that rare burst of confidence, or for the stars to align, a navigational life is just this ongoing loop. You keep moving, adjusting, checking your bearings, reflecting a little, and then updating your direction. That's what keeps things alive inside, even when it's messy. Direction is what organizes the chaos, not perfection or the finish line. I think back sometimes to my early years practicing in rural Alberta. There was this pressure, especially coming from Nigeria, to follow every protocol to the letter. I thought if I just clung tightly enough to the rules, everything and everyone would work out fine. But the patients? They didn't read the protocols. More than once, I had to let go of the idea that there was a single right answer, and instead I'd sit with the patient, tune in, ask better questions. The more I responded to who was in front of me, the real person with their unique story, the deeper the trust became. And, strangely enough, the medicine itself got better. I learned that navigation is a dance, not a formula. Where was I going with that? Oh yes, in a navigational life, coherence comes from inside, from adapting in real time, not from memorizing the perfect script. So how do we take this big, fuzzy idea and make it practical? I want to break down 5 daily navigation practices I've found essential. Honestly, I still scribble them on sticky notes now and then, just to remind myself. The first is morning orientation. Just a simple check-in. What direction feels alive for me today? Not what do I have to achieve, but what actually has a pulse. It can be as subtle as a gut feeling that running that extra clinic would be too much, or as simple as knowing you need to call an old friend. Then comes the capacity check. This is one I'm, still learning, even after all these years. What can I truly hold today? Some days it feels like you can carry the whole world. Others, your hands are full just getting out of bed. That's okay. It changes. Third is taking the next true step, the smallest action that actually matches what you sensed and what you can hold. Not 5-year goals, just one honest move. Sometimes it's a phone call. Sometimes it's pausing between patients to breathe. Next come micro-reflections. These are just little pauses, 5 seconds maybe. Notice what shifted inside me. Did my mood change? Did something unexpected come up? Quick experiments with self-honesty, nothing too serious. And then, updating. Maybe your direction needs to be tweaked, or you just realize halfway through your day, the anchor you picked, that steadying practice, needs shoring up. Don't treat it as failure. It's navigation. It's motion, not stagnation. Let me give you a real example. When I'm at the clinic, if I skip my morning orientation, by noon I can physically feel myself running on empty. It's easier to panic, to tie up my identity with whether I get every answer right. But if I start with that simple, honest check-in, I'm less likely to burn out or lose my sense of what matters. Because my internal compass is working, even in the chaos. What's interesting is, and I might be rambling a bit, the more you practice these steps, the less you get stuck in panic or self-judgment, and the more you actually trust yourself. Identity, weirdly enough, becomes this thing that's flexible, but also more reliable, because you're not holding it so tightly. It breathes with you. Alright, but let's get real. If this were easy, we'd all be Zen monks by now. The path gets blocked. The most common pitfall I see, in myself and in others, is over-identifying with a single part of yourself. Maybe the resident who's obsessed with achievements grabs the mic and won't let go. Or maybe external validation becomes the compass, instead of just one signal among many. Another thing, and we touched on this in earlier episodes, is mistaking emotional weather for the whole climate. Just because your internal sky looks stormy today doesn't mean your entire self is stuck. Emotions are important data, but they aren't the final verdict. If you treat every windy day as a permanent winter, it's a recipe for getting hopelessly lost. So how do you start making this shift into a navigational life? If I had to sum it up, I'd say start really, really small. Strengthen your anchors. Pick one true step and practice updating gently. Move from needing certainty to seeking what's honestly true, even if it changes tomorrow. I learned this the hard way, immigrating to Canada. I spent ages worrying, do I belong here? What do my colleagues think of me? There was so much self-doubt it felt like I was drowning in it some days. But once I let myself get curious about where that doubt pointed, instead of fighting or denying it, everything opened up. I realized I didn't need to prove anything. I just needed to orient, to keep moving. So, if you're listening and you're feeling unsure, good. That's how navigation starts. Perfection isn't the point. It's about being honest, being adaptive, and noticing what comes up as reality unfolds. You're allowed to be in motion, allowed to change direction, allowed to get things wrong, as long as you're willing to turn inward and try again. That's what builds resilience, not the false promise of always having the answer.